Hello, everyone. How's everybody doing tonight, this Friday evening? I don't know if we're going to get a lot of participation tonight, but we will keep the room open for a little while and see if anybody joins in. And, yep, let me mute the playback. There we go. So it is a Friday night. I don't expect a whole bunch of people to come in. Um, I haven't posted the link just yet because of all the sniping that is going on. So if you would like to get into the room tonight, just let me know in the live chat and I will share the link with you. Um, because we've had too much sniping going on. So, anyways, it's Friday night. We'll just see what happens. If we get people, we get people. If we don't get people, we will just shut it down. So, anyways, um, I suspect that tonight's hangout will be like the last hangout. We'll have moments of dead air, then we'll have activity, then dead air. So I will re-edit tonight's hangout into a highlight tape, so that way you can watch all the active parts, and we'll skip all the dead air, like I did with the last hangout. So anyway, I'm going to turn my cam off for a bit, and we're just going to see if anybody comes in. Okay. All right. Hi, Pat.
There we go. Hello, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing. I'm doing all right. It wouldn't let me unfreeze you. I had to refresh.
I see. Okay. So how long you been sitting here waiting for folks to come in?
About an hour.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
We got to do something to get people in here.
I know, but a lot of people don't follow me for some reason. I don't know why. I
And I
wonder.
don't.
I
Yeah, I don't
wonder.
know why people follow me. I don't understand that, but hey.
Yeah, I don't know if it's my voice or something that annoys them, but it's weird to me. Nobody ever comes in my hangouts.
Hmm. Well, I got to do something to change that. Wish I could figure out what. Have you tried inviting Vaughn? That he won't come to yours either, huh?
I've tried to invite Vaughn. I told him to come,
Hmm.
but I haven't been. I haven't been pushing it too much because of all the sniping that's been going on. You know, all this damn Google Plus sniping that's going on.
Yeah.
So I haven't really been trying to draw attention to it though, because I don't want us to get sniped. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I hear you.
But yeah, I would love to have more people come in and have it busy, but it just, I don't know, it's just not going anywhere.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe I can think of something. Between now and Sunday, maybe I can think of something that might help you out. But then again, I don't have a lot of people that come, and very few people will actually come into my. I mean, they'll come and they'll do the chat thing, but they won't come into the actual. I don't know what they call it, a room or whatever.
Yeah, hang on, I'm re getting back into the YouTube side because I lost that side too. So
Oh, okay,
that way, if anybody shows up in that chat, I can see.
all right.
All right, there we go. We got both of you.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know if you could shout it out maybe on Sunday that I'm here during the week, but I don't know. I just wish more people would come.
Well,
One,
one thing that I noticed was popular was people listening to police calls. If there's some way you could stream police calls, I bet you. Oh, there's Kitty. So what's that kitty's name behind you?
that's Mitzi. That's
Ah, okay.
you saying hi to Pat. Give Pat a meow. Go ahead. I don't know if you can hear her. She's meowing.
Yeah, mine is in the other room probably right now. I have two. I got a big black one named Cinder. She's about 15, and then I got a younger one. She's all gray, and she's her name is Peanut. You know who Jeff Dunham is? You ever heard of Jeff Dunham?
Yeah, I've heard of him, but I haven't been to any of his shows.
He's got a real interest. He's a ventriloquist, and he uses dummies. He's got a dummy named Peanut, who's a real brat, and that's why I named mine Peanut after that character. So I just got my two kitties, and I take care of my sister who's got lung cancer. And then when everything settles down in the house, then I have time I can get online. So
Now, the other thing you mentioned about Vaughn, the other thing I've noticed about Vaughn is I've never, like, we can't get him into our hangouts around this time of the day, but I don't know if you did one like at 4 in the morning if he would come in, because I noticed he's always around at 4 in the morning for some reason. He's always doing his hangouts from like 4 in the morning to noontime. And I'm like, that's when I'm sleeping, Vaughn.
yeah, me too. I did catch him one time at 6 a.m. I saw that he was on. And sometimes you hear the kids talking behind him, and sometimes you don't. But so I know he's on at 6 a.m. That's a long. I've caught him a couple of times where he'll do like an 8-hour hangout of his own, and then he'll be in somebody else's for another 8 hours. That's 16 hours online, man. That's an awful long time. I don't think I could go that long.
I know there are a lot of people that go into Nadia's, and I'm like, oh God, this guy again. You know,
Yeah.
she had this one guy, no matter how it took her almost 2 weeks to get rid of him. He was talking about metacels or whatever it is, something technical. And his name was Ego, and he was coming into Nadia's every night and talking about the scientific stuff. I felt like I was trying to go for a psychology degree. Literally, it was that in depth of a conversation. I'm pulling my hair out because it's way above my normal level of thinking. And he would come in night after night after night and talk about the. So finally, through the process of elimination, she wound up banning all of his accounts. But
Oh, geez.
it took her a couple of weeks to get rid of the guy, though.
No. Well, let's see. I know from Nadia's. I know. I think he calls himself Drunk Guy on the Porch.
Yes, he can be a little bit obnoxious at times. Yeah, I know who you mean.
Yeah, and then there's the lady with the British accent. That's, I think, Annabelle.
Yep.
Yeah. And then there's that Candy Rain.
Now I can tell you my feelings about Candy Rain because I have seen her
Okay.
do blog TV shows and iVlog shows. She is, I don't know how old she is because well, you probably know how old she is because I saw that stack of papers that one time, and I was like, ah, ah. But that was on one of your videos. That's we'll get into that in a minute. But I'm sure you know her age anyway. But
Yeah.
I've seen her host Blog TV and iVlog TV shows, and she's acting like a goddamn teenager. Literally, I think she has the mind of a teenager.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. The picture of her, with the bananas really speaks volumes.
Yeah,
But
that's something a 16-year-old kid would do. A picture like that, you know.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I once accused her of having the hots for Vaughn, and she says that's impossible. I'm married. It's like that doesn't stop some people. But I noticed that she does agree with a lot of the things that Vaughn says, even if it's stupid. So I don't know. She's the only person I ended up blocking just because she's just, I don't know, different. But yeah, otherwise I really haven't had too many trouble with people online. But I was telling the heck is his name? Paulie from Paulie's Customs or something. I was telling him, I says that the law of averages, if I keep doing this, online stuff, eventually I'm going to end up with haters too, I'm sure.
See, I like Paulie, but he doesn't like me for some reason. I don't think.
Hmm.
Back in my day, a few years ago, when I really was into Von Helton and was really defending him, I think I pissed a lot of those guys off. If you know, because
Yeah.
Paulie is anti-Von. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think I pissed that whole circle off because I was making nasty videos back to them and everything else.
Well, see, I don't.
But that was in my younger day when I really was, you know, a heavier supporter of Vaughn than I am now. I still support him, but not as bad as I used to because, some of the stuff has come to light that it's been true. Other things have been come to light that it's fake.
Yeah.
So
Well, see, I don't consider myself really anti-Von as much as I do pro his kids, but, and then he thinks that I'm trying to get his kids taken away from him, and that's not true. I just wish he'd spend more time with them.
oh yeah, I wish he would too, but he just doesn't.
Yeah, that I find that very, very strange. And then he wanted the deal is, from what I understand, is he wanted a total of 6, and he wants to have his own little clan. That's why he wanted to have another wife so that he could have 3 more children with somebody, and he can't even handle the 3 he's got. Why he wants 3 more, I don't know.
But I will tell you, I was laughing my ass off when you did that video. I was like, "Oh my god!" That's why I put it in the comments, even though you didn't respond to the comment. But when you had that stack of papers, I was like, "Oh my god!"
Oh, okay.
You know what video I'm talking about? We're getting into too much detail, and
Yep. Yep.
so that's why I said you probably know how old Candy is. But I've seen her dress up like a teenager on our iVlog show. You look at the way she's dressed sometimes on iVlog, and you swear you're looking at a 16, 17-year-old, not an adult.
I've seen a couple of people from Blog TV. There's one woman, she was on there all the time. I can't think of her name anymore. But I used to watch Vaughn's Blog TV hangouts and stuff, and wow, just wow. I mean, he's really, really right wing, major, big time. And the thing is, I've noticed it. I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's a lot of people that live off the government and they hate the government. I will never understand that. Most of the people that hate the government live off of it. Do you
Yeah.
know if I mention the name like Corky, do you know who that is?
Yes, I know who he is.
Okay. All right, he's another
I
one.
remember when he was living with Happy Cabby and all of that stuff. Mortgage for if he wound up doing a lot of mortgage for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I I seen him go down, and now he's out of jail. And I don't know where he is now, but he looks like he's strung out.
I think he's in some kind of like a halfway house or something for people on parole. Um, but I'm hoping for his sake that he no longer hangs around with that Tim guy. But yeah, I also know who Happy Cabby was, and I don't know. I was never real thrilled with him. He had quite a following for a real long time. There were people that just loved Happy Cabby, and I couldn't figure out why.
The reason why I liked Happy Cabby is because I never really got into his debates or the fights, but when he built that like 8 foot Oculus Prime out of balloons and shit,
Oh yeah,
and he built stuff out of balloons, that's the Happy Cabby I liked. I didn't really get into him backstabbing people and outdoing this one and slighting that one. I really didn't follow him for that. But when he created stuff with balloons, I was like, oh my god.
yeah. He was a pretty talented guy, but he just to me it struck me as like he reminded me of the typical schoolyard bully, you know, because if he could get he'd have a real talent for riling people up against somebody. And if he could get a bunch of people to pick on somebody, I think that made him happy. So, but I remember when he was going to school and stuff, and then he supposedly claimed, "Well, I can't go to school anymore because the school is making me get insurance and I can't afford it." That was horse manure. That he was lying about that.
Yeah, but I had no idea he had problems with his liver. That totally shocked me. I mean, because the last thing I heard is he's like, I'm not making videos about my personal life anymore. I'm going back into trucking. I'm doing really good. And then the next thing, all of a sudden, bang, he's dead. It's like, that totally surprised me.
Well, he supposedly got a job with Google, and it supposedly involved a lot of travel. And that part must have been true because he ended up dying in, no shit, I can't remember, a different state. Oh, he lived in Arizona when he was going through the stuff with Corky. And then when he got this job, he evidently moved to somewhere in California because that was there was a California address listed on his death certificate. But he actually died, I think, in Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. Either Louisiana or Mississippi, some southern state like that. So having the job that required him to travel a lot must have been true.
All right, so maybe he didn't go into trucking then. Well, that all I know at one time he said he was going to get back into truck driving, and then when I kept seeing him at different hotels, I thought that he went back that way, but I never heard that he was, doing a job for Google. Now, if he was traveling for Google, that would also explain why he was in different hotels all the time. So either one will work, but I know at one time, one of his last public videos before he went on a long hiatus was, I'm going to try to do truck driving again. But maybe that didn't work, and he did work for Google. But either way, I did notice for a while after that he was doing a lot of videos from hotels. So
Yeah. Yeah, although the last when he Did you see the videos that he was making where he was yelling about his parents? I hate my mom, I hate my dad, you know, that kind of stuff. He made several of
Yeah,
those in a row, and then the background didn't change. So he must have been in the same motel for a good month and a half.
those are the ones those are the last 3 or 4 videos I seen. I don't remember seeing any more after that. But
Well,
he's like, you know what? I'm
yeah,
making this video. Fuck you, ma. You know, I
yeah,
seen that.
yeah. Well, he had some girl. I remember he. What the heck was her name? Shara. Remember his videos about Shara? She
know he
was.
was mentioning a girl, and he was really close to seeing her, and then they broke up. And
Well, this Shara is the one that tried to. She started some kind of a fund for him so that he could get money to go to the doctor. And then I don't know, something happened with that, and then she didn't mention him anymore, and he didn't mention her anymore. So they must have came to a mutual agreement that I won't mess up your life if you don't mess up mine, kind of thing. But so I don't know. For a while there, I thought maybe the stuff about his liver was a bunch of horse manure, but evidently it was true. But the most interesting character that I've ever seen on YouTube, she goes by her real name, which is Karen Crozer, and she thinks that she's in a relationship with different movie stars and stuff. And what she would do is she would make videos, personal videos, talking to these different famous people. And then she wanted to have a fundraiser or something so that she could afford to throw Johnny Depp a big birthday bash, because her favorite one was Johnny Depp. And she, I guess, was a drug addict or something. She was really bad. She got arrested and lives in Florida and hated living there and all this other stuff. But that was probably the most interesting character that I ever seen online.
yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know about that. I haven't seen that person yet. But like you were asking why people don't come in, I think all right, that's the person's name. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this. Another reason why I think a lot of people don't come into my room is because of being gay. Sometimes I think people avoid my hangouts, avoid my YouTube channel because of it. You know, they're worried I'm gonna hit on them, but you know, all I want to do is sit on the internet, talk to people. I'm not looking for any romances online, but you know, there are a lot of homophobic people out there, and sometimes I wonder if that's why I don't have a big following.
Well, no, they can't be, because I mean, all these people go to Nadia's, and I mean, she's a guy, so I don't think that shouldn't really affect people. At least the people that go into Nadia's room. If people were homophobic, you'd think that they wouldn't go to her room either. And she wants to have voice surgery or something because her hormones aren't, helping that much. I don't know. But no, I don't think that should bother most of those people.
Just
I'm
one,
actually
I'm
I'm
just,
surprised
I'm
Vaughn goes there.
all right. Go ahead. I didn't mean to step on you. Say
Oh,
that
that's
again.
okay. No, I was just saying that I'm surprised that Vaughn goes into that room because he's so right-winged. I'm surprised that he, would spend time in a transgender's room.
Well, one time when he was doing his blog TV show, and me and Vaughn have always been good friends. We've chatted a lot of times, but like I said, I don't know if he's not coming in because he's sleeping now and getting up at 4 in the morning. I don't know. That could be a possibility. So giving him the benefit of the doubt. But he was he made a comment one time in Block TV. Why do all these guys like me? Do they want my bot or something? And I had his email address, and I sent him a private video, and I said, "Look, Vaughn, I like you because of the stuff you're talking about. I think you're cool. You Some of the things you say, I think, are wild and crazy, but at the same time, it's entertaining to me." And I told him straight out. I said, "I have nothing, no interest in you at all."
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And ever since then, we've been great friends because I told him right from the beginning, that. So I guess certain people he's okay with, but he has been hit on by a bunch of guys on Block TV.
My gosh. Well, you're married, right?
Yep.
Okay. So really, there's nothing to worry about with you,
Yep. I still gotta send you that stuff too.
Okay.
I haven't forgotten. I've just been really, really busy.
All right.
We're dealing with an estate mess right now because my other half's father died, so we're dealing with the estate right now.
Okay.
Because there's two other people involved and some of the people. What it is like all wills. When you have a will that's split more than one person, sometimes, like if there's you, and Vaughn. Let's say we were trustees in the will, right?
Okay.
On some of the points of the will, there are going to be things mentioned, pieces of property, things that, things of value that no matter how much we fight, the three of us are never going to agree to, say, okay, Pat gets this, I get this. They're all fighting with each other. They can't agree on it. Where half of the shit is going right now, if you get my drift. They're doing, it's one of those things.
Okay.
So it's a big mess. I mean, he put in the will that everything's supposed to be split three ways, but everybody's arguing over how to split the estate up.
Yeah, I had a friend. She's had a twin sister and then three brothers, and she is the one that took care of the mother until she died. And nobody else would help her. They wouldn't even give her a weekend off. She was begging her twin sister, my husband and I were not getting along anymore. Could you please watch mom for a weekend or something? And she refused. So when she died, when the mother died, she said, okay, I'm not sharing any of the money. And of course, they all got pissed off at her and they took her to court and she won. So, and I think that's fair, if she's the one that spent all the time taking care of the mother, then she should be the one that gets the money.
Because the latest thing they're arguing over is his father had a lot of stocks and bonds.
Okay.
And everybody wants to pull out of the two of them want to pull out of the investment and one wants to stay in. It's like, you know what I mean? And Mike is the one that's on the fence right now. He doesn't know he wants to stay in or pull out. And I'm like, I don't know, because you know how the stock market is. You can be riding high 1 minute and then the next minute lose everything.
Right.
So it's like playing roulette and your chip being red and it lands on black and you lose everything. So
yeah.
So that's one of the things that they're fighting over. Should we cash out the investment? Should we keep the investment?
Okay. Well, like I said, maybe I can think of something that we can do. We can have like a mutual thing. I don't know what yet, but something that would bring a bunch of people to the room. I know that when I put up, Will Vaughn's show, a bunch of people initially, there were like 14 or 16 people that came to the room. I mean, nobody actually came in to talk, but except you. But
See, oh, I muted myself. How did that happen?
have no idea.
I hit the wrong button. Anyways, yeah, I wouldn't mind getting in the room with him, all of us tonight, and just talking about normal things. But I just, you know, if we sit on there and attack him all night, he's never going to come into one of those rooms. You
Oh
know.
no, I know, and I don't really want to attack him per se. I mean, there are some things that I am interested in finding out, like where the heck he comes up with this idea for this Mandela effect and stuff. But so I don't really want to attack him per se. The other thing I don't like is every time he's in a room, everybody tries to talk at the same time. And then of course he's yelling over everybody else, and it's just enough to give you a headache. So I would have a rule that, people take turns talking, hopefully.
Yeah, well, the the only thing that bugs me about Vaughn, like you said, is when people over. Well, I'm getting tired, so I'm losing my train of thought. One of the things I was trying to say is the thing that bugged me the other night when it happened to Vaughn was they were talking about something in Nadia's room. I forget what it was. It was 2 days ago. Two
Yeah.
days ago in the middle of the night. I think it was something to do with religion.
Oh, okay.
But I really wasn't paying attention because they were boring me. So I kind of like brought the volume down and turned the TV on. And he's just in there talking and having a normal conversation. He's in there for about 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden, Annabelle notices that he's in there. She goes in the hangout and deliberately starts a fight. And all he was doing was having a normal conversation with Simon, having a normal conversation with Nadia, and a couple of the people that were in there. And out of the blue, she shows up in the freaking room and causes a fight. I don't like when people do that in hangouts. I mean, if Vaughn was to come in and he's chatting, and then all of us, you know, why ruin a perfectly good conversation, a perfectly good chat, and deliberately come into a hangout and start a fight? That just annoyed me the other day.
Yeah, well, see, there's people out there, they like to see him rage. They get turned on by that, I guess. But so they'll do anything that they can to piss him off, and unfortunately, it doesn't take much to piss him off.
And of course, you know how it ended, right? 10 minutes later, after Annabelle went in there, she went, and he was gone.
Oh, okay.
So not only did she start a fight, she waited and got him all riled up. And then when he got all riled up, she kicked him, which was even another low blow.
Yeah. I know that kind of thing happens to him a lot. But like I said, there's people that they love to see him rage, and I don't. I don't think that that's funny. I think it's actually really sad, but I don't think that, this stuff is funny at all.
Like, I don't know if you have a TV or something in your computer room. Do you have anything that in your computer room that can occupy your time besides your computer, or not really?
Yeah, I do. I have a TV. I have I have all my books in here and stuff. So
Yeah, because what I was gonna say is some morning, just for the hell of it, and you'll notice this the same way I have. Okay,
okay.
turn like on a day when you really have not too many things to do, and you're really not going to use your computer that much, and you really just you want to do this study for yourself. But I will tell you what I notice. let's say you put on Nadia's Hangout. Let's say you get up in the morning and you put on Nadia's Hangout and you do the changeovers every time they change over and you keep it on all day and you keep it just, at a low volume where you can hear what's going on, but it's not really distracting you from the TV.
Okay.
You'll notice. Just go and watch her room for a few hours, like 8 or 9 hours, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Every time her room is normal, just talking like us, right?
All right.
She'll have anywhere between like six. She'll have anywhere between 30 and 38 views. Normally, all day long, she'll have it if she has normal conversation like we're talking about now.
Okay.
You sit there and watch the room, all right? Then have Von Helton go in there and have Annabelle start a fight. All of a sudden, she's up to 72, 73, 77 viewers while the fight's going on. So the fight's and then you sit there and you watch the room for a little bit, and then once the fight's over, it goes back in the 30s again. And then a little while later, let's say an hour goes by, Gus will start fighting with Godless. Next thing you know, the count is sky high again because there's a fight. I've noticed this sitting in her room that every time there's a fight, the viewer count skyrockets, and every time there's normal conversation, it's in the 30s, 20s, and 30s.
Yeah, I think there's people that get a kick out of watching other people in pain, I think.
So that's why I think she allows the attacking to go on. The attacking and the bashing of everybody, because every time that does it, that's more AdSense revenue for her.
Yeah, how does that work anyway? I mean, I signed up mine, or I'm supposedly signed up for it, but how many people do I have to have, and how do I end up getting a check? You know?
You have to have a lot of followers, and I mean a lot of followers.
Okay, so I'd have to somehow get in a lot of fights with people in order to get a lot of followers, I assume, huh?
Yep, you have to be getting like hundreds of thousands of views per video to get paid.
Oh, wow. And Von Helton gets that? Did you see he spent like $3,900 on a computer program? How in the hell did he get $3,900?
That's what he says, but I don't know.
Well, Rev, this person that they call Rev, gave him $1,000, right?
Yeah, I know. And like I said, about a week and a half ago, he was bitching that he's about to lose his internet again. So that's why I said to you in your hangout, I think I would have used that money wisely and paid for a year of internet instead of upgrading the computer. That's how I feel about that one.
Well, yeah, but because, I mean, if he loses his internet, he won't even be able to play his games, would he?
Well, he says the Skyrim one he can always play offline.
And he makes up uniforms and all kinds of other stuff for that Skyrim game. He's made a couple of videos on that. Kind of scantily clad, female characters. He's into that stuff.
What he did during the time that he had no internet is he was like if he was making stuff like that and he had to upload it to the game, he would take like a disc down to a relative's house and was uploading his videos and his game stuff that way.
Okay. Yeah, for a while I thought maybe he was going to the library or something, but
yeah, see, the library is a touchy area because most libraries won't let you put any media in the computer, because they're all viruses and things.
Okay.
I know the library here, you're not allowed to put any discs in, you're not allowed to do anything like that.
Okay. By the way, thank you for doing the video on your setup like that. Eventually, I hope to be able to afford a mic, so that I'm better understood.
Yeah, well, you sound good to me.
Okay.
I just don't like the mic that Von, no, the condenser mic. And I hate to keep using his name, but it's the only one I can think of that you know who I'm talking about. When
Yeah.
I tried to use a condenser mic, it was unreal. Like right now, with me, not using a pair of headphones, and you're talking to me, right?
Yeah.
The condenser mic would be so sensitive that that you would have just said yeah, and it would have friggin' echoed like you wouldn't believe. I mean, condenser mics are all right when but you'll have to wear headphones all the time, and they pick up every little sound in the room. I mean, so I just I didn't like it. I just did not like that big condenser mic.
He's got something now that makes him echo really, really bad. He'd
Who
be
the?
talking and it cuts him off. And it's he sounds real choppy. So is that since he upgraded his computer?
Oh, you mean Vaughn?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's having a lot of issues with Windows 10.
Oh, okay.
Now,
Luckily, my computer is so cheap it doesn't have the proper video card, so it keeps telling me I can't download Windows 10, so that's fine.
my computer, I have had a lot of problems with Windows 10 myself, audio wise. It screwed up a lot of my audio things, but I was able to figure out ways around it. Uh, one of the things that screwed up for some reason is if I open a Chrome browser and go into a Hangout
Okay.
and I have the audio set exactly the way I am, right? Because if you
Yeah.
go back to like Von Helton's Hangout 3 hangouts ago, right? He had a Hangout, and I kept trying to talk. I had no audio using the exact same settings in Google Chrome, because the browser, the the room would open up, the Hangout room would open up in Google Chrome because that was the browser I was using at the time. As soon as you click on the link, it was open up again in Google Chrome. Now,
Okay.
Google Google Chrome is owned by Google, right? And
Yeah.
so is Hangout, so you think it would work. But it's freaking weird. I'm on Firefox right now and my audio's perfectly clear. But if I stopped what I was doing and logged into Google Chrome and without touching any settings, you wouldn't be able to hear me. So why can I use Firefox and I can use Windows new Edge browser, but I can't use Google Chrome to do a Hangout and it's owned by Google? That's what does it. Now is
No.
that frigged up or what?
Yeah, that is. Well, see, I've got the newer version of Google Chrome I can use. The old one I can't. So the one that shows up on your desktop with the three colors works okay for me, but the one that's just blue, three different shades of blue, that one doesn't work. That's weird.
But you'd think
But I
everything
got
would
a
But you think everything would work better with Google, right?
yeah, you'd
It's the
think
same
so.
company.
Although, see, I've got one of those cheap Walmart Acer, e-machines. That's what I got. So
Yeah, that's what the other half has got, and his e-machine is starting to do a lot of weird things because it's like 5 years old. It's acting up badly.
mine is actually mine is 5 years old too because I purchased this in 2011. So mm,
It
oh,
wouldn't be fun. It would be cool if you two have the same model because, yeah, they told Mike when they wanted him to upgrade to Windows that he doesn't have enough RAM for it. Is what they told him.
I've got the ET1352G model. So And this thing is really, really touchy, so I don't dare leave it on overnight or something, because if I do, then weird stuff shows up on my computer. I don't know where the hell it came from.
Yep. Well, I had to reformat Mike's not too long ago because of whatever the friggin' cat did. He'll leave his drawer. You know how some desks, like you see my desk, they have the drawer underneath here where the keyboard is.
Okay.
Several times he'll forget to put the keyboard back in the drawer, and he'll go to bed. He'll leave the thing on and go to bed. Well, the friggin' cat will jump up on the desk and start walking on the keyboard. So
Oh yeah.
I
Okay.
have no idea what that thing was screwed up for a couple of weeks. Whatever. I don't know if the cat downloaded a virus or whatever, but it was like, what the frig? That was a mess.
Yeah, I got my youngest cat. She likes to lay on the. She likes to actually lay on the keyboard. So when she jumps up here, I automatically have to turn my keyboard off. I've got a wireless one, so.
But if you notice, my keyboard's on the top of this desk.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why I did that with mine. Because when I got my first Dell in 2003, I bought this desk. This is how old the desk is. I've had to fix it a few times because it started falling apart. I had to reinforce the legs and everything.
All right.
When I bought this desk, underneath here, like where my hands are, underneath my hands, there was, I would say a 4-inch piece of wood that came down.
Okay.
And then it had the shelf where you could slide the keyboard in and out down here.
Okay.
The 4-inch piece of wood is hanging down from the bottom, holding the shelf up.
All right.
Well, in 2003, when I got that freaking piece of board in my friggin' knee one too many times, that friggin' shelf went bye-bye.
Oh yeah, I suppose.
So that's why I don't have the shelf. But
Okay.
I wore that shelf one too many times in the knees because it's like hanging down below the surface of the desk, and you'd be like, "Oh, there's that damn shelf again,"
Yeah.
I still have my original computer that I bought in 2003.
Really?
Yeah, it still runs Windows XP and everything.
So you had a Dell, right? You have a Dell?
Well, this one is a Dell too, yeah.
Okay.
But my first computer I got on Valentine's Day 2003.
All right.
That was my first computer.
I bought my first computer in, I can't remember the month, but 1996. And at that time, they were still expensive. So so just the tower, the keyboard, the mouse, and the monitor cost me and a cheap printer cost me $3,000. So but see, I was business at that time, so I actually, it was a business write-off, but still. And now, some of the computers are so cheap that just about anybody can have them, but back then, not that many people were on the computer yet.
See, now, as of using a computer, my first computer at school, when I remember going to school in the early 80s,
okay,
the first computer that they had, and then, like I said, I didn't have my first one that I actually owned until 2003, but going to school and stuff, I was on other computers, that the school had.
Okay.
The first computer that I ever used was a Macintosh computer.
All right.
Where it had the bottom, where it had this, it had the bottom, and the hard drive was a tape recorder, and it hooked to a TV set. I think it was like the Mac 1 or the Mac 2, the one that was popular in the 80s. That was one of my first first times, but we didn't have internet or anything like that back then. That was just to do schoolwork, and that was it. And I used to
Yeah.
think, I found it weird that the hard drive was the tape recorder.
Yeah, my dad bought a computer like that secondhand, and I remember that he had his connected up to a tape recorder, and I thought, well, how weird. But and then my sister got one. One of the first ones that she had the bigger um, floppy disk was the bigger size, and you'd have to put in a different floppy disk for everything you did on the computer. So I can't remember when she got her first one, but I didn't get mine until 95 or 96.
But you remember when dial-up came out, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Still remember that sound.
See, what I think happened with the computers with the tape recorder, because I don't remember if I ever played back one with it out, with it, not being in the computer or anything. But I think those earlier machines, like the digital sound that we used to make to engage the modem and all the tones and all the weird shit. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's probably the type of computer code that was on those tapes. So even though you never really listened to the cassette as a hard drive, it probably had all different tones that the computer picked up, and it realized, okay, that's what you're trying to do by putting the tones together.
Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't be surprised if some of that same code from those original hard drive computers
Yeah.
later was used on AOL to get you online. It was probably that same technology.
Now, when I first started, they had the AOL, they had Prodigy, and then there was another one. I can't remember what that one was called. But there were those three networks, and they used to charge $3.99 a minute.
Yeah, well, the thing that sucked where I lived when I got my first computer, a I signed up for AOL at first because the internet wasn't fully available through the phone company yet. They were still working on it at that time.
Okay.
But the thing that aggravated me with the AOL is I was in Narragansett and all of the call numbers were in Providence. So now, because I'm calling from Narragansett, Rhode Island to Providence, it was a long distance call. So not only did you have to pay X number of dollars for the minute, but now
Yep.
it's a long distance. It's what they call a long distance state call. It wasn't a long distance out of state call, but it still was out of your call area. So you got billed from the phone company at the same time because the access number was not a local number.
Well, I'm wondering how in the heck if Vaughn's been on the computer for supposedly like since 1999, how in the hell did he afford it when they used to charge per minute? I bet you he didn't spend long on the computer back then.
Well, his mother was probably a lot longer then, and she probably was working and still gave it to him.
Oh wow, wow! I can't imagine how much their bills would have been. You imagine spending 16 hours online back then?
Yeah, I couldn't imagine it either. And I see Caleb's in the chat. Hi, Caleb. I didn't even see you there.
Hey, dude, how you doing?
He's in the outside chat if he's still there.
Okay.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to look at that. I'm not used to looking at that page.
I'm definitely used to looking at that page. Actually, I'm not used to being able to get, I don't really go into too many people's chat rooms. I just listen when I get to debate Coliseum or whatever the heck it's called. Because you can never get in there. There's always 10 people in there. And
Yeah,
why do they limit it to 10?
that's one of the things that's one of the reasons why I never go into Nadia's. That's exactly why I never go into Nadia's. Um, because it's always full. And the second reason I don't like Nadia's, and I'm not, first of all, I'm not saying this in a bad way if she sees the video. I have nothing against Nadia. The other thing is about Nadia's is I don't like the way they rip each other apart and deliberately start a fight with each other. And I want to go in the room and talk to people like I'm talking to you. I don't want to go in the room like um and be talking like you and then have somebody rip me to shreds. I'm not into that.
Yeah, I know. Me neither. But like I said, there's so many people, and I think they almost derive pleasure from other people's pain, and that's just kind of sick. But that's just me. Because like I said, I've noticed that if I go in, if I talk about Von Helton, I'll get a bunch of
They responded to you, Pat.
yeah, and if I don't, then they don't care. So maybe that's what we gotta do. We gotta pick somebody apart, but I don't like doing that.
Yeah, no, to do it for the viewers. I can't do it to people.
Yeah.
I just want to have fun, meet friends, and now I know when you get into a good debate with somebody you want to fight, but sometimes when they fight, they overdo it.
Well, I can see being passionate about a particular subject, but I think that some people just like to fight for the sake of fighting. But nobody ever got a lot of views by being nice to people. So now, see, and I just wanted to have like a really safe chat room where anybody could come in and talk about stuff that they want and not have to worry about getting ripped a new one.
Yep. But so you're definitely gonna do Sunday as your normal thing?
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. So
Yep.
then I'll take Sundays off. That's good for me.
All right.
Can't do this all the time.
Well, no. And I can't do it I tried doing it every night. I think I did it 4 nights in a row, and eventually I just ran out of stuff to say. So, so I just figure I'll just do it on Sunday evenings, and then if I come on, and then I'll, come in here and look for you.
Yeah, well, like I said, one of the things I did in the past is I used to do a show on iVlog, okay?
Yeah.
Now, the problem with iVlog, I don't know if you've been there yet, there's a DJ over there by the name of Bender. He's been there since the site has been in alpha testing, okay?
All right.
And because there was like 14 people that were originally the original alpha and beta testers, those 14 people became a clique, okay? So when it opened to the public, none of those 14 people would support my room, would not support any of the new people that came in once it was open to the public because they wanted to hang out in that little clique.
Okay.
So I was doing my DJ show 5 days a week there, sitting in a room playing music to myself, and Bender would have all the views in his room because naturally he was on there the longest. So the problem is with it. The problem here's where I'm getting to the point. I was doing it 5 days a week and literally getting nowhere with the participation of the site. So
okay.
I know from experience, and that gets boring after a while, and then you quit and you don't do it anymore because you're like, why am I sitting here day after day and doing it? Reason why I'm making that relevant to you is because instead of doing a hangout day after day after day, because if you do your hangout and only 2 people come in there, or you're in there 90% of the time by yourself, you're gonna get bored. You're gonna say you're gonna say free Google and you're gonna give it up, right? So
Yeah.
so my suggestion is if you want to do Sundays, you do Sundays. If Sundays is always full and you're getting lots and lots of views and you're getting lots and lots of exposure, but and let's say a year from now you're really really popular, then you might say, okay, I'll add Wednesdays on, you know. And
Yeah.
then if Sunday and Wednesdays are going really good and you still and people are saying you're not on enough, we can never get in the room, then you could add more days. But I wouldn't do a lot of days on Google Hangouts to start with because like I said with the iVlog thing, you're just wasting your time.
Yeah.
Huh? What? All right. All right, so I'll do that in a minute, Mike. So I would just stick to 1 day a week and keep adding to it. That's why I'm not doing hangouts on here all the time. Because if I was in here all the time by myself, I'd pull my hair out and say, forget it.
Yeah. Well, maybe you should pick one night and then just do the one night.
I don't know. I was bored tonight. I figured it was a Friday. I'd try it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see if I know what night you're going to be on for sure, then I'll just automatically come to yours because you always come to mine. So
Yeah, I'll probably
we'll have each other to talk to.
I'll probably do it. I'll probably do a small one every Friday, at least a small one.
Okay.
Even if it's just a couple hours, it's better than nothing.
Yeah. Okay. You know what they need is they probably need some. Well, see, I don't understand how Nadia can do it 24 hours a day. That would drive me insane. But I think if you had somebody that people could just come and talk to in the middle of the night, because there's a lot of people that are very lonesome and they don't really have anybody.
Right.
You know. And usually these people are up like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and they have nobody to talk to. But I'm not a licensed therapist, so.
Yep. I mean, if this hangout group takes off and there's a lot of people to be on 24/7, and I have mods I can trust, then maybe. But I know I can't be here 24/7 like Nadia is. I know.
Yeah, I don't see how she can do that. That's insane. You know, go from one to another to another to another like that is just wow.
Yep.
You know, and then I guess she does it on her phone when she's gone, and that's crazy.
I think she's got like 7 mods, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I don't. And this may sound strange to you, and I don't. And I don't want it to drive you away, but I did invite Vaughn to become a mod.
Oh, okay.
And if you decide you want to come in all the time, I can invite you to be a mod. But so far, Vaughn has not accepted the invitation yet.
Okay, well, I mean, no, it's not going to chase me away. He seems to have more of a problem with me than I do him, and I don't understand why. But literally, if I go, if I go to Debate Coliseum, okay, and I could get in there, all right, I've tried it a couple of times, and he's in there. I go in, all of a sudden he's gone. I don't understand why that is. So I don't know. Like,
have you actually tried to get into one of his hangouts, or are you blocked?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I have never.
I know it's hard for you to decide that if he's got you blocked because he's always doing them at 4 in the morning when you're probably sleeping.
Yeah, I'll try once. Next time I see him online in his own, I'll try once. But I mean, I'm a night owl, but not typically that late. So
see, a lot of things he likes to do is play with his cameraman. He won't ban you per se, but you'll be able to go in his room and he won't unmute you. So you'll be there, but He's got you hidden from the broadcast. So it's like you're there, but you're not really there because the last couple of hangouts that I was in with Vaughn, Steven tried to come in and Vaughn wouldn't unmute him.
Oh, are you talking about that Jay Stevio guy?
No, I'm talking about Von Helton Jr.
Oh, him. Yeah.
He
Okay.
he came in under Steven Minix like 3 times, and Vaughn wouldn't unmute him.
Yeah, do you have any idea why he would pretend to be Vaughn's kid?
I have no idea, but I knew it was fake from the moment I seen it. I knew it.
Yeah, and there are people that say that he looks like him. I don't see the resemblance, really. I mean, Vaughn has no teeth.
Yep.
Steven has really sharp, pointy little teeth. You know, I don't really see that much of a connection between the two, but why somebody would pretend to be his kid, I don't know. And I think he finally realized how damaging that was to him because I have not seen him since July
Yeah.
4th. He has not been online at all.
I haven't seen him either.
Yeah. So I don't know. I hope he's okay, but I think he may have realized how big of a mistake that was.
All right.
Salutations.
How you doing, redneck? Oh, I'm doing good. Yep. Oh, you mean in bonds? Oh,
Oh, okay. So you think he's gonna win?
yeah.
Yeah.
I hope he wins. Yeah, I hear what you mean. I don't know. I just don't trust Hillary with all that email stuff. I don't know if I trust her. Yeah, I just can't believe they let her get away with all that email stuff. Yes. How did you hear about my channel, Redneck? I said, how did you find my channel? The hangout, I should say.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, the only reason why I asked that is because I didn't know if I was on the public list or not. I didn't know if there was anything you had to do special to get on the public list. You know what I mean? I was just curious. That's why I was asking that.
I don't know. I typically don't have an opinion when it comes to politics. I think they're all crooked. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, you have to keep in mind that when all of this stuff was written, when this Constitution was written, okay, the population was less than a fourth of what it is now, and only white European males were considered people. So when they talk about we the people, they're talking about we the white people.
Yeah, they're talking about our prodigy and stuff. They knew that, and you look at the immigration acts, right? They said we don't want even Western Europeans, right? We want those, from Britain, etc., and we want our prodigy to rule. Like we were never expected to have this, multiculturalism nonsense, right? That's been pushed by the communists in the recent years.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, if they would have known how the United States, would have turned out as far as, the melting pot that it is, and, that people of all different races and cultures and stuff like this were here, and, would they have written what they did a little bit differently?
I think that I think they would have explicitly said not to have that happen based on a lot of their opinions.
Yeah.
You can read Jefferson's opinions against slavery, right? And one of the things he was saying was that we have this large group of people who we brought in here and they're slaves. If we free them, this is going to cause problems for this country we built. So, like, even Jefferson was thinking about it like the slave issue as we got to stop this because it's going to cause problems for our prodigy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When they are eventually rise up, because he was paranoid that, yeah, of course they're going to eventually rise up and attack. But I think that the founding fathers certainly would have probably written negatively about the communists as well, right? Like they had no way to know that communism would have came about, and they probably would have amended the free speech, right? So it applies to everyone except for subversive communists,
Yeah.
Bolsheviks.
Well, too, I mean, when they wrote the Second Amendment, which is the big one that everybody, is arguing either for or against,
Mm-hmm.
the arms that we were allowed to bear were musket loaders. They weren't, AK-47s, and like I said, I think that if they would have known how things would have turned out, everything would have been written totally different.
I mean,
Yeah. Well,
but then again, like rifle, you were allowed to have rifled guns, which were high tech at the time. There was a few like double barrels and stuff that were allowed. So there was different types of guns, and the fact that they didn't even say like small arms, the fact that they just said arms,
Mhm.
a cannon would have been included in that, right? Any of the military arms. But I think what's so important about the Second Amendment is not just like a utilitarian argument, which is what most conservatives give, right? Like, oh, we'll
Mhm.
have lower crime rate, but you go, no, look, there's an ethos to the American man, right? He's free to compete in the market. He is self-sufficient, and he has the right, the ability to bear and keep arms, right? And
Mhm.
that ethos can't be destroyed, because if you destroy it, then you've destroyed how Americans see themselves.
That is correct. That is correct.
And
Well,
so that's my main
unfortunately,
argument.
see, there's no way, when it comes to gun control and all this other stuff, we don't know how to predict when somebody's going to lose it. And in 9 times out of 10, when you have these mass shootings, that is exactly what's happened, is somebody has lost it.
Yeah, yeah. I think with a lot of these newer ambushes and stuff, that's different. But yeah, you have insane people, and they have access to guns. But I don't know. Maybe I'm still in my anarchist kind of thought process. But you're gonna write laws because somebody's crazy, so I can't own a gun. That
Yeah,
too goes against the ethos of like due law, right? So I can do this unless a judge tells me I can't, right? So unless I've
right.
already committed a crime and a judge has said, look, you can't own guns anymore, then I have the right to own guns. You
Right.
have to, you know.
That's true, but I mean, you can be 100% sane today and lose your family for somehow, or lose a job or whatever, and all of a sudden that's changed and now you're no longer sane, and that can happen next month. So I mean, there's really no way that we're not psychic. And yet we expect our police force to be psychic. If only bad guys owned guns, all right, then the cops would know, oh, this is a bad guy, we got to shoot him.
Well,
If,
I mean, the other problem too is, right, like poor governance, right? Like
yeah,
right now we have a police state, right, to deal with riots. And you see like in Ferguson where they're burning down they're burning down people's businesses, their livelihoods, and you see these cops in you know layers and layers of body armor and Bearcat tanks and stuff, and they're watching it happen in a nice little neat order. They're watching people loot and riot. The government can't protect us. So but in like a nation of laws, right, you would have like a leader that thought of that before, and he would have local people be ready so that he can deputize them and they can go protect property, and then the cops can go arrest criminals. But like
mm-hmm,
you don't see that because you have this inefficient like police state that's only good at breaking people's skulls if they're dissidents of the state rather than actual criminals burning down the town.
mm-hmm, yeah,
Our forefathers would have never had that. It would have been obvious that people would have come and defended it. So we also have that disconnect of a police state and a bunch of guns and a bunch of gangs and a bunch of, you know,
yeah,
I
and a bunch of cops that seem to abuse their authority.
well,
Yeah,
certainly you
yeah,
you you certainly see that, right? But the Black Lives Matter, they don't really have much of a point if you look at statistics. There's a lot for every black guy that I find that's disproportionately hurt or some ridiculous video. I can find white people who are going through worse, if not the same. So and there's no statistical evidence of like systemic racism. You can find
mhm,
examples, obviously, but
yeah. Well, one of the things that I notice, and I mentioned this a couple of times when I've had hangouts, is the fact that we have near us a college that offers a police training program, and I took a tour of it recently, and I've noticed that they have for their target practice, it's actually a lifelike photo of a black male pointing a gun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I really think that that has something to do with some of these shootings too. You know, if
Well,
that is the attitude that they're teaching, you know, black males are dangerous, well then, you know.
well, I mean, statistically, that's most likely what they're going to come in contact with, but I mean, still, I would expect if there was systemic like racism, I would be able to see it statistically, right? That it would come up as a, oh wow, so blacks commit this amount of crime. Oh, they're shot this amount. Well, that's ridiculous. Like that's not even in line with the amount of crime that
Mhm.
they're committing. And I don't see that, right? I see, well, yeah, they're disproportionately, more of them run into cops, but more of them tend to be criminals. And I don't think it's because they're evil or there's some inherent evil to them. I think that if you look at IQ distribution, you control for race, basically race disappears. The people with IQs around 80 commit the vast majority of like violent crimes that the cops are
Crime,
going
yeah.
to, yeah. So, and it doesn't matter what race. There just happens to be more black people within that, 80 IQ. So they commit more crime.
Yeah.
Whites commit more crime than Asians. Asians commit less crime, and they have a higher IQ. So, like, you see that it correlates with that.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
plus
there's
it depends on who you admire too.
What do you mean?
Well, you know, a lot of there's okay again, a lot of black males tend to admire gang leader types.
Like that guy T?
Yeah.
Or- yeah.
I think something else to consider, though. Your name's Redneck. Redneck
Yeah.
I think something else to consider, though, is that, well, like, yeah, there's like a criminal IQ, and you can look at studies made by criminologists that sort of show that like around 85 to 90, you're going to have a much higher distribution of crime. But at the same time, it would appear that even, and this is where I would push back against some of what you said, that it would appear that even some of the whites within that IQ distribution that have low socioeconomic status that one would think would be more prone to crime because they lie in that range of criminal IQ, they don't exhibit the same crime as blacks, for example. And I think this could probably be attributed to
Culture.
like home skillet was kind of getting there. Some cultural factors, some marginal cultural factors, but there's also like the MOAO gene or whatever, the warrior gene, which correlates highly with criminal activity. Blacks have this gene much more prevalent than other races. But also testosterone levels to consider. For example, like the average black female has higher testosterone levels than the average white male. Testosterone levels are correlated with crime. So there's other factors than just like IQ, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's true. Although, if you're doing a study, anybody can make a study come out pretty much any way they want to. So
Yeah, but this was the studies that
that, too.
the studies that they find with the criminality are done by like when somebody's victimized, what they report to the police.
Yeah.
So it's very unlikely that like if an Asian guy robbed me, that I'm going to call the police and be like, "Hey, a black fellow robbed me." It's just not. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
So I trust those pretty well. And
Yeah, if you control, like for example, I'll put this one study in the chat here. Yeah, when controlling for IQ and past violent history, this study right here shows that all this racial disparities in arrests disappear, and that's kind of interesting. But yeah, on the whole, it would appear that like systemic institutional racism is marginal because of what you already mentioned. I mean, blacks commit disproportionate amounts of crime, and like people try to get around that by saying that like crime statistics are void because if police are targeting blacks to begin with, the crime, like, of course they're going to have higher crime. But how you can test for that is by looking at the Department of Justice crime victimization surveys, which include stats of victims reporting the race of their attackers, right? So when you look at those reports, you will see that they correlate almost perfectly with arrest percentages by race for these violent offenses. So, in other words, like, blacks are being arrested exactly in accordance with the amount of crime victims report they commit.
Okay.
Well, and if you would have told me this, right, like, this is not what I would have expected. Like I said, I'm definitely critical of the state, right? So somebody saying the state is disproportionately targeting, like, you would think that I would be, like, on that tip. But recently, after finding out this data, after really studying it, I find myself, you know, with Murray Rothbard, right? Like, unleash the police. Cops should be free to administer justice with liability on the streets. They should be allowed to be set loose to solve the crime. And you see that crime soaring in the U.S., which goes against the general trend in the past few years. You know, in the past, like, what, 20 years? But in the past 2 years, it's gone up. So we truly need to, you know, embolden the police and have, you know, keep them local, but have them emboldened to go actually solve violent crime and not, you know, be focused on petty shit, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Not too scared to go
They
take
should not
out.
have to be afraid. I mean, you know, the cops, all the cops want to do is, you know, at the end of the day, a cop wants to go home.
Yeah.
Just like any one of us who go to work, you know, when we punch out, we take it for granted the fact that, you know, we're going to go home in the same condition that we came to work. You know, and for cops, that's not that way. You know, and then you have this constant, you know, reinforcement of the fact that, you know, certain types of people, and I'm not just saying blacks, you know, but certain types of people are inherently dangerous, and, you know, all they want to do is kill us, and this and that and this and that. And so when they have a problem with someone like this, you know, they're not psychic, you know, they can't figure out, well, you know, is this guy a good guy or a bad guy? I just, you know, I'm going to shoot first and ask questions later because I want to go home.
Well, and you see, that's what we have now is cops are too scared to shoot because they don't know what's going to happen afterwards. They can get hyped up into this big media thing, and then they're worried about getting a fair trial. Whereas, and even if they shoot him and it turns out he was okay, he still has been let loose. His name's in the media, rather than having, you know, an ability where, oh, he shot a guy, okay, is the evidence, okay, he was guilty, all right, well, he was fucking committing a robbery, and this cop shot him, so give him a promotion.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And it doesn't even have to be permanent. You don't even have to unleash the police forever, but you unleash them until crime goes down. And what we have now is we have so many laws that a cop's making the decision, well, I can go after this gang, right, that's going to fight back, or I can go, you know, bust kids for skateboarding, or go catch people for marijuana, you know, and they get the same reward. You know, what are you going to do? Who are you going to go after if you're a cop? The guy who has some marijuana leaving a rock concert, or, you know, or the Crips.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a problem. And so we have to unleash the police.
I agree with you 100%.
Well, yeah, and it would seem like, you know, well, I mean, there are political reasons why this has been whipped up into a frenzy, right? Like, obviously, like in a election year, there are certain political elements on both sides. I mean, Trump's doing it with the majority white vote, just like the left's doing it with the minority vote, right? But I would assert that part of, like, Black Lives Matter and a lot of these what are essentially Marxist movements on the left, like Black Lives Matter, are, you know, to embolden blacks to vote for Hillary Clinton. But if you look at, like I say, the data, I mean, it's like police killings of blacks are, like, that should be the least of people's worries when it comes to the black community. So here's, like, a few data points compiled by the New Century Foundation. In 2013, a black was 6 times more likely than a non-black to commit murder, and 12 times more likely to murder someone of another race than be murdered by someone of another race. 2013, approximately 660,000 crimes of interracial violence that involved blacks and whites. Blacks were the perpetrators 85% of the time. This meant that a black person was 27 times more likely to attack a white person than vice versa. In 2015, a black person was 2.45 times more likely than a white to be shot and killed by police. These figures were well within what would be expected, as I explained, given race differences in crime rates and likelihood to resist arrest. But this is the most pertinent right here. In 2015, police killings of blacks accounted for approximately 4% of homicides of blacks, and police killings of unarmed blacks accounted for approximately 0.6% of homicides of blacks. The overwhelming majority of black homicide victims, 93% from 1980 to 2008, were killed by blacks. So you've got this small, tiny little sliver that, you know, the media and certain political elements want to focus on to you know, gin up racial divide, to gin up political sentiment.
Yep.
And like, if we're genuinely concerned about the status of blacks, which I am, you know, in America, there's so many other things that we should be focused on.
And if you've ever paid attention to, like, subscribe to, like, Cop Blocks or Police Daily or anything like that, right? You can see constantly police brutality, police negligence. Why are these very few things so stirred up, right? They're so big in the media and blow up, and all of them are, you know, they're trying to push a narrative, like I said, and the Black Lives Matter movement's been funded and stuff, and I don't think it's necessarily organic. I think that some people went to college, learned this lexicon about white power structure, then they went home, talked to the people there, and they've set up this, and now it's turned into where they're rioting, and some of them get radicalized and go shoot cops, you know.
Yeah. Well, see, now if we're all focused on how much we all hate each other, then we're not watching the sleight of hand going on in government.
Yeah, and that's worrying too, right?
Yeah. So.
But like I said, I think it's the communist plan, and you know, it's crazy moving from, like, an anarchist a few years ago. Like, I've talked about, you know, theoretically, like, if cops are stomping on your rights or whatever, you have the right to defend yourself. But, like, it's a fundamentally different thing when communists are trying to create chaos and make the police ineffective so that then they can bring in nationalized police. And that's what a lot of these Black Lives Matter higher-ups talk about. That's what Barack Obama keeps talking about, federalizing the police, making it a federal, you know, thing, which is, to me, is horrifying. I mean, I don't want my local police department to get their orders from Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump.
Yeah, God, no.
I don't want.
Yeah.
I would rather have that be left to the state and the local jurisdiction. I think that that's a far superior way, because, look, you have a police state that's armed up, you have a surveillance state, and so far it's been tame, like I said, and they don't maintain order. It's all on the local level. They tie the hands on the local level, make them ineffective, and then as soon as, you know, one of these guys wanted to, if they federalize the police, that's when they can come and round you up. The cop down the street is not your neighbor. It's not from your county. He's not from your city. He could be from the other side of the country.
Yeah.
He's an invading force.
Yep.
And that's where they can kick your door in because you said something hateful on the internet or whatever, and toss you in jail.
Yep.
And I'd be the first to go, because I've said some hate facts on the internet before.
Oh, I think everybody's expressed their opinion on the internet in a negative way at one time or another. So yeah, we'd all be rounded up.
Well, I don't think it's negative. I don't think hate facts are negative.
No, but someone does. You know, I mean, the nice thing about the internet, I was born long before this internet came out. So I mean, I remember a time when people didn't know much unless it was written about in their local newspaper. You just didn't hear about stuff. Now with the advent of the internet, we hear about everything.
Well, I receive a ton of hate online from you know, God's chosen people there.
Yeah, I hear
They
you.
harass me. They've went on our podcast and they've tried to post pornographic images to get me removed. They've done a lot of things. They put me on a Nazi detector list, which I mean is a great way to like socialize and meet cool people, but I mean nonetheless they've tried to harm me in one way or another. The filthy Jews.
Yeah. So,
Oy vey.
Did somebody say ovens?
ovens?
Yeah.
Not that I know of.
Oh, I thought this Asa J just said ovens.
No, I said oy vey. That sounds really anti-Semitic there. But yeah, no, like I can continue with some hate facts, for example, like if we're going to talk about the policing issue. But like obviously racism and racist cops exist, but as to how much that it can be explained in terms of the criminal justice system, I mean it's marginal at best. Another thing that proponents of systemic racism will bring forth is the claim of disproportionate sentencing, right? Like with people saying that blacks are sentenced more harshly for the same crime than whites. This can be easily explained by one thing, right, which is past criminal history. So if you've committed more crimes in your past, you're going to receive a longer sentence. And I'll post a source in here in the internal. But yeah, if like you compare cases between blacks and whites involving the same crime and circumstances, when criminal history is roughly the same, a much different picture emerges. And there's been some studies within some cities that will show that whites are actually sentenced more harshly in many cases. But like sort of like the ace in the hole for those who would claim systemic racism is like the drug war, right? And well, before I say anything about that, I think there is probably a legitimate complaint of pertaining to socioeconomic status when it comes to sentencing. Like obviously, if you're like the poorer you are and the less likely you are to attain proper legal counsel, you're more likely gonna be to get a higher sentence. So I would probably say there are some legitimate like classist concerns when it comes to sentencing. Anyway.
Hold on now. Classist, right? I don't know. Sounds a little red to me there, Asa.
What are you talking about, man? I mean, are you disputing that people with less money can afford representation and are more likely to be sentenced, like because they don't have lawyers and stuff? I mean, it sounds pretty reasonable to me.
I can't find a problem with it. I'm just saying your argument's turning a little red there.
Well, I'm trying to make concessions to these guys. You hear me? See, it's give and take. You can't just come into somewhere and scream "gas the kikes, race war now." You hear me?
Yeah. I mean, I'm more of throw the commies out of the helicopter than gas the kikes, but.
But yeah, on the drug war tip, right? Like, yeah, arrest rates show that blacks are 2.5 times more likely to be arrested for drug possession and 3.7 times more likely than whites to be arrested for trafficking. So this must mean, right, because we looked it up, right, and we took all the arrests for drugs that whites had and all the arrests for drugs that blacks had, and we added them up, and they weren't in accordance with their percentage of population. So this must mean that there is racial bias in the drug war, right? Well, no. So, like, there are three primary arguments against this. When combined, would make it appear that racial discrimination in pursuing the drug war is marginal. And the first is that, again, blacks commit more crime, right? So, if you're going to commit a vastly disproportionate amount of violent crime, then you're going to be charged with more drug offenses as a byproduct. So that's something to consider. But something that proponents of systemic racism will put forth is that blacks and whites use drugs at roughly the same rates, but blacks are arrested more. But this inference comes from the fact that blacks self-report drug use to similar rates than whites, and this can be easily disputed, right, by many studies. I'll just reference a couple here. A 2005 study in the Journal of Urban Health, for example, found that blacks were 10 times more likely than whites to lie about cocaine use. When it came to marijuana, no whites in the sample lied, but 1 in 8 of the 191 blacks lied. 2008 study of Vietnam vets in the Journal of Addictive Behaviors found that blacks were 20 times more likely to lie about cocaine use than whites, and twice as likely to lie about marijuana. A report in Addictive Behaviors surveyed 290 black men who were treated for high blood pressure. 45% were taking drugs, but only 19% admitted. There's a plethora of studies that show that blacks will self-report one thing, but have drugs show up in their urine tests, proving that they didn't report accurately. So this is really a myth that blacks and whites consume drugs at the same rate, but blacks are arrested more. Another thing to take into account is that ER, emergency room visits pertaining to drugs, and you can look at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services data on this, which will show that blacks were 3.5 times more likely than whites to go to emergency room for drugs. They were 2.8 more times likely to go to the ER for marijuana, and 7 times more likely because they took cocaine. So when you go to the ER for drugs or have an overdose, the police get involved. So when you combine that, the more likely to have ER visits that are facilitated by police, actually they do use drugs in higher amounts, but self-report inaccurately, and commit violent crime at a vastly disproportionate rate, and are more likely to be charged with drugs as a byproduct. This sort of disputes completely the whole institutional racial bias myth in the drug war.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
Yeah, I think that was enough of my John for now.
Is he not? No, is he not gonna? You guys don't have any opinion on that?
No, I mean, I agree that, but I think it's because there are a lot of blacks that do idolize people that make the easy money selling drugs.
Well, that's more or less what Ace was saying, as opposed to what I was saying, where I was focusing. So what he's saying is that there is a disparity, but when you look at it, there's also a disparity among the whites who are low intelligence, which would indicate that among that, right? So let's say you have an 85 IQ and you live in, but your parents are probably, you're diversion over, but you live in like the suburbs, right? And you're like, you idolize like Nirvana or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're whereas a black that might have the same intelligence, right? He idolizes like criminality. Yeah, he's probably more likely to be a criminal. But the main factor was like there was both a genetic, because his IQ, and a cultural type thing. And also, it would be very curious. I'd like to look up because in the 1950s, black illegitimacy rates were pretty low compared to now.
Yeah.
Even when compared to whites, they were less likely to be born out of wedlock back then. I'm curious the crime rate back then versus now. That might have also played a role.
Yeah.
Well, they have a TV show on now. It's I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. It's called something about Scared Straight. And what they do is they show a bunch of teenage kids that are getting into a lot of trouble, and they take them into a prison and let prisoners yell at them and like a bunch of drill sergeants. But the point is that a lot of these black teens come from single-parent families.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That
like
is disproportionate to us.
single motherhood correlates highly with criminality.
Yeah.
As Redneck was saying, as early as the 40s and 50s, blacks had actually stronger families than whites, but and they have illegitimacy rates of like around 75%. So, like, additionally, in some age demographics, like teens and young adults, for example, blacks used to have lower unemployment rates than whites.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, obviously now they're exceptionally higher. So, like, the mainstream narrative that we're kind of fed and supposed to believe is that, like, people have gotten more racist like since World War II, but I mean that's obviously absurd. So yeah, there's some cultural factors, the destruction of the family primarily, which has led to the dramatic increase in black crime and unemployment. Is certainly, you know, part of that cultural milieu that would also include, in my opinion, like a lot of the gangster hip hop culture and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you can really like blame one thing on like the destruction of the family, increase in black unemployment. And this is something a lot of leftists don't like to hear, but it's the fucking welfare state. Like that's what changed between then and now in terms of like, you know, like if you're going to subsidize unemployment and single motherhood, you're going to get more of it. That's exactly what's happened.
Yep.
And I don't know, like it's hard to determine, like, did these people truly hate the Africans enough to, like, set up the welfare state and set up incentives so that they would tear apart their own stuff, and then they cry racism and stir them up so that then they, you know, think that, like, white people did it in general, when it's probably only a small amount of leftist politicians that did this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, now they're going to, like, they call everybody racist and stuff. Like, the reaction to this crazy amount of crime and whatnot and illegitimacy rate. And so they call the reactionaries to that, like, Nazis and evil and you hate blacks, when, you know, they're the ones that are like, well, yeah, we have blacks because we can trick them into voting for us. Yeah, we've ruined their families. Yeah, we're setting up, you know, Black Lives Matter and feeding them lies about how racist the police are, when the evidence is in the opposite. Like, they see these people as lower to them, as like pawns and just to be played with, whereas, like, ironically, most of the people who they call evil racist Nazis just kind of want to be left alone and have them left alone.
Yep.
You know, they want separatism.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to be mixed up, but they don't hate black people, right?
Yeah, I don't like that you're agreeing with us. You're supposed to be disagreeing so we can.
Yeah, you're supposed to, like,
I'm
fucking
supposed to
freak
disagree
out.
with you guys? Okay.
Well, I haven't had very many people just be like, oh wow, well that's a logical argument, I'm going to consider that. I've mostly had like, no, that's racist, you're backdoor racist, you hate people.
Well, I think you know, this term racist is just being thrown around willy-nilly, and it's not, you know, it's not really the case. I mean, I can make a statement of fact and not be racist.
Yeah, and that's what they get, right? And it's funny, like, people, you know, I don't want to harp on Milo because a lot of people in the alt-right believe it, right? Like, I'm one of them. Like, we truly are reactionaries and stuff. We're not just doing that, but they don't understand that, like, if you call me a racist for stating facts, then eventually I don't care, call me a racist. And once you do that, they go, wait, what? And then they're scared of you.
Yeah.
So they've created a group of people who were like, hey, look at this fact, and they were moderates or conservatives or anarchists, and then they've just said, you're evil, you're Hitler, you're the Nazis. And then they, like, went and met Nazis and, like, had arguments with them and aren't accepted in their group. But, you know, you have these reactionaries is what I'm getting at, and they're scared of it.
It doesn't help that, you know, every time something happens, you know, the media picks up on it and it just, you know, takes it to ad nauseum, you know.
Yeah.
But like I said, if we're all busy hating each other, then we don't have the time or the whatever to take a look at what's kind of going on in government and um, what's going on in certain other circles.
Well, I've had somebody convince me of that, right? Like he said, fascists and stuff, they harp up a lot, right? The alt-right movement and whatnot, they harp up a lot. It's like an animal, like showing its feathers before it bites. But
Mm-hmm.
to actually go and have this, war, if you will, which I think could be brought upon us pretty shortly, and it seems to be headed that way, is very costly, and you risk losing what you're fighting for, right? So if there really was like a black separatist revolution and the communists are jumping in on it and there's all this, I risk losing, large amounts of white people. And if we and reactionaries, not just white people too, because logically there would be some black reactionaries, obviously, against communists.
Yeah.
There are, look at the 3%ers, right? It wasn't David, right? That had the standoff and stayed there and was willing to do all that with the fucking FBI. He was Asian and white. He was
Okay. Yeah.
like a warrior pedigree though too. So
Yeah.
samurai and fucking U.S. Marine in his genes.
Okay. Well, I hate to say this, guys, but I gotta go. I will talk to you. I will be in my chat on Sunday, so.
Yeah, you need to learn and read about Keck and the god Hans Hermann Hoppe.
Okay. All right. I will see. I will see you on Justin on Sunday night.
Okay, I'll see you on Sunday night.
All right. Take care
So,
of yourself.
Justin.
You guys too. Nice to meet you both and have a good discussion.
Yeah, man.
Hey, Justin.
Go ahead.
Are you a electrician by chance?
No. No.
Okay.
Not an electrician at all. Nope.
All right.
So you obviously set up this channel because you're you don't like the debate coliseum. That's kind of what I take this as, right?
No, I started the channel because Nadia's is always full 90% of the time, and then sometimes they'll be discussing stuff in there that just bores me to death. Like when they talk about some of the stuff they just talk about, like the Earth being flat. Like they argued about that for 5 hours one night. Like, oh my God, guys, killing me.
You're a Saphir cuck?
He's a baltard.
You believe the Earth is fucking round? Oh God! You sure you're not an electrician?
No, not at
That's
all.
something an electrician would say. Fucking Earth is round. Okay, so if the Earth is round, right?
Shut up! Shut the fuck up!
I take a fucking helicopter and I go straight above my house, right? And I chill out. Now, how come I can't just stay in that one spot and the Earth move underneath me, and then I can just land in China? If the world's round and fucking spinning. Can you explain that to me?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't fucking think about it. You just, in school, some cat lady was like, oh, be a Saphir cuck. And you were like, yes, ma'am.
All right, faggots. I'm out of here, please.
All right. See you later.
So, do you guys hang out in Nadia's channel at all, or no? Oh my lord. So there you have it, guys. I'm gonna head off to bed. I was just waiting for everybody to drop on out. I want to thank everybody for coming to the room. Redneck, it was cool meeting you. Uh, Acer or Jay, however you say your name, it was awesome to have you in there, and of course Pat. So I want to thank each and every one of you for stopping by the hangout tonight. I will be back next Friday. And as always, until next time, everybody stay safe, be well, take care of yourself and each other.